We will now go to our next pitch, which is from Professor Donal Wall. I'll give you a moment to get settled. Professor Donal Wall, you have 5 minutes to give us your pitch.
Thanks for the opportunity to come here today. So our planet is teeming with microorganisms, and when these microbes come together in communities in a host or environment, we refer to them as a microbiome. And these microbiomes are found everywhere on the planet, in the oceans, in soils, on plants and animals and humans. And together they play roles in vital processes in the health of these ecosystems. And what we hope in future is that we'll be able to actually harness the power of these microbiomes to actually address challenges that we face today, such as climate change, chronic human illness, antimicrobial resistance, and food security. So the soil microbiome, starting from the ground up, is very important for soil health and plant health. It can influence plant growth. It can alter the nutritional content. It also plays a vital role in processes that are essential to life on the planet, such as nitrogen fixation. And using this knowledge, a UK-Brazil collaboration came together to work in the soybean harvest in Brazil. And by using these microbes from the soil that could fix nitrogen in place of man-made fertilisers, they saved £7 billion and reduced their greenhouse gas emissions by 430 million tonnes annually compared to the man-made fertilisers. Similarly with the animal microbiome, it's essential to animal health. It can influence the quality and quantity of meat from food-producing animals, can influence their resistance to pathogens. It can also influence the amount of methane they produce as well. So again, in the context of future challenges, it influences climate change, food security, can also reduce our antibiotic use as well. For the human microbiome, we're now starting to understand the influence of the microbiome on human health. So all aspects of human health are affected by the microbiome. In early life, it trains your immune system. In later life, it influences disease such as type 2 diabetes and obesity. Also, for example, in the case of Clostridium difficile infection, really difficult to treat infection that's resistant to antibiotic treatment. So by taking a stool sample from a healthy person in a process called fecal microbiota transplantation, we can put that into a patient intestine, and as a result we can successfully treat 90% of these cases of Clostridium difficile infection since it's been introduced in 2022. Also with the vaginal microbiota, we now understand it's really important for reproductive health, and in future what we'd like to see, particularly around pregnancy and preterm birth, you would have personalised strategies for pregnancy where we could actually have microbiome-based interventions to help reproductive outcomes both in the UK and worldwide. So these are all really positive things. We have 400 microbiome research initiatives based across the UK, across 150 different organisations. And these are run by really world-leading scientists in their field. We also have a number of areas of strength, such as we have the Quadram Institute, Imperial, the University of Oxford. We have a new microbiome innovation centre at the University of Liverpool, and that works really closely with industry in the northwest that's working on microbiome-based interventions such as AstraZeneca and Unilever. We also have a new UK microbiome biobank that's saving samples for the future across the whole spectrum of microbiome research. And in Glasgow, we have our own Glasgow University Microbiome Initiative. And this is a multidisciplinary thing where we bring clinicians, academics, industry together to try and solve problems using microbiome-based solutions. So this is all very impressive, but we've also had a number of issues flagged up from reports from UKRI, from the Microbiology Society, and also a report that was commissioned by Baroness Bennett of Manor Castle in the House of Lords. And these flagged up a lack of access to critical infrastructure for research and production. Also, we need higher quality data sets. We need more education and training. There's a lack of clear regulations and guidelines as regards microbiome innovations, and this is really important to drive innovation forward and also to protect the consumer. Also, there's a gap in funding for small and medium enterprises as well. Seed funding would really help them, as Neil said earlier, to get over the line and get their microbiome expertise out there into business creation. And lastly, there's a gap in public knowledge as well. The public are really keen to know about the microbiome, and we feel that giving them this information where they could actually nurture their microbiome would be only good for human health in the long term, and would also dovetail quite nicely with some of the government programs around better health. So if the committee were to take this as a future going forward, we feel we could certainly work together to try and move this forward so that microbiome research in the UK reaches its full potential.
Thank you very much, Professor Wall. That's fascinating, and the role of the microbiome in soil, in animals and in humans. And just firstly, on the role within humans and the micro. It's exciting to think of all the microorganisms that are living on and in all of us. And you said that we understood the role of the microbiome in human bodies. Do we fully understand it? And when it comes to, I go into chemists and I see rows of probiotic supplements, and how are they useful? Are they useful in supporting the human microbiome, and do we fully understand how it works now?
No, we don't. There are massive gaps in knowledge.
That's what I thought.
Clearly, there are big gaps in knowledge. I mean, and the UK is one of the drivers behind research in the microbiome. It's got the third most outputs in the world, academic outputs. It's where innovation falls short. So research is really, really positive. As regards specific probiotics, I can't comment on specific ones. But again, if someone's got an awareness of their microbiome, I think that in itself is a first step to indicate that person is thinking of their health and thinking of their well-being. So that in itself is a positive.
Well, it may be just two questions on that, and it may be a first step to know it, but then when you're faced with all these supplements costing for a huge amount of money potentially, is there the understanding of the health benefits that they are being that they are? I think they do claim health benefits. A healthy gut is...
I think, yes, you may refer to gut health and things like this. But, I mean, there's no substitute for eating healthy. A balanced diet, eating well is better than any kind of probiotic. Trying to get bacteria and microbes to colonize your gut is incredibly difficult. It's a really challenging environment. So for probiotics, to try and actually get them to pass through the stomach, etc., and then actually to go on and colonize your gut is incredibly challenging. Again, I can't comment on specific ones, but for me, I think it's a challenging thing to say that these things are colonizing your gut for your better health.
Okay, and just finally, before we go to, I'm going to go to Lauren and George. You talked about you need access to infrastructure, cutting-edge infrastructure. What is that infrastructure? Is it shared amongst different sectors or areas of research? And is there an appropriate catapult? The catapults are there to provide access to infrastructure for startups. Is there an appropriate catapult?
So there's a number of, the knowledge transfer network on the microbiome has been running for a number of years. There's a number of networks coming together as well, and this has been a drive of a number of these reports. They're saying that we need microbiome centres of excellence where we can concentrate access to equipment. So because it's a constantly evolving field, the equipment is constantly evolving as well, and to keep up you need new equipment. Also, in terms of production, there's a lack of access to specific fermentation vessels that are needed to produce high-quality materials that then can be used in trials, etc. And this is, again, something, it's not just specific to the UK, but it's something that could be addressed in the UK. It would be a benefit for, again, small and medium enterprises, and also for researchers who want to translate their findings, into the clinic.
Thank you. Lauren and then George.
Thank you. You mostly asked my questions I had. So I was going to ask you about the challenges of connecting the immune system and the gut microbiome, and of course we're seeing maybe 2 out of 3 children in every classroom now have a severe allergy.
Yes.
I just wondered if you could expand on if there is a correlation or anything going on there.
I mean, I can give an example of a specific type of research in Glasgow. So there's it's called a Bingo Group run by Professor Kostas Gerasimidis, and they work on Crohn's disease. And they use nutritional interventions to dampen down inflammation and maintain people in remission. So this works both in pediatric and adult cases. So again, there are specific interventions. There's also research, again, looking at eczema and other inflammatory conditions. So again, it's trying to nail down mechanisms. But yeah, there's clearly connections there that can be exploited, but the specific mechanisms are often more challenging to actually understand.
Yeah, thank you.
Very impressive. Can I ask where the UK Centres of Excellence are? I think there's one in Norwich, just down the road from me, at the Codram Institute. I think years ago, UCL, I helped set up a digestive health institute. And second link question, what are the companies that should be reaching into this? Are we talking sort of Unilever, Danone, food companies? Who are the people who would pull this through into healthy nutrition?
So there are centres of excellence across the UK, and they're springing up everywhere, which is a good thing. And again, it's trying to, in our own case in Glasgow, I mean, I set up the Glasgow University Microbiome Initiative, and we got 40 research groups into that quite quickly because there was a lot of people interested. We had a lot of clinicians reach out to us as well who wanted to know more. As regards industry, I mentioned AstraZeneca and Unilever working on microbiome-based therapies. There's also Elantro and Croda. There's the Medicines Catapult in Manchester as well. So there are industries focusing on this. But as regards microbiome-specific therapies, there's been hundreds of companies established since, I think it was 2013, but yet only a handful of these are actually in the UK. So we are far beyond, again, as Neil said earlier in his evidence, California places are leading the way and we are lagging behind.
It did seem to indicate that we were within the top 3 when it came to research.
That's for research outputs, but then that's not translating.
Yes, I understand that. So again, we're the top 3 for research, but not for commercialising it. Final question to Kit.
So you obviously talked about this primarily being based on a kind of healthy cocktail of microorganisms that might mix either in the gut or in the soil or whatever. Is there any crossover between that and the science of the manipulation of microorganisms? Obviously we've got, synthetic biology is doing this work in lots of areas. Do you see any exploration there at all at the moment? And what benefits and dangers does it present?
So I think probably the most successful ways of manipulating the microbiome are through things like prebiotics. So you give things to the microbiome that will select for specific microorganisms. So maybe a type of nutrition that they particularly want, and it will get them to grow quicker. As I said, fecal microbiota transplantation, again, that has been used really successfully in cancer treatment. So it improves the outcomes of immunotherapies. It also reduces side effects when it's used. So again, there are always potential.
But the science of the basic manipulation of the DNA of these microorganisms, are you seeing any crossover of that?
There's efforts being made at the moment, but I think that is at least probably a decade away to actually edit microorganisms in the gut. I think that is challenging, but there is work going on at the moment in that kind of area. I'm not sure if it's in the UK. I know there's work in that regard in California. We had a recent visitor from California to Glasgow describing that kind of work. But again, it's challenging, and it is a number of years away yet.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Let's move on now, but thank you for your pitch. And now